or maybe...
We're 4 songs away from the week's hot and toxic takes, but right now we've got Cam, Don't Go to Cleveland on Pittsburgh's #1 hit music station.
B94, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding. Don't leave our field, you're all we got. Stay in Pittsburgh, give it one more shot. We need your power, we need your drive. Cam, you're the heart that keeps us alive. There's one way that this story ends, with you in black and gold again. Whoa, Cam, don't go to Cleveland. You won't look good in orange and brown. Cam, don't go to Cleveland. Bring Lombardi's back to Steel Town. I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding. Cam, don't go to Cleveland. You won't look good in orange and brown. Cam, don't go to Cleveland. Bring Lombardi's back to Steel Town. Be a one helmet guy. Be a one helmet guy. Be a Steeler for life.
B94, and it's time for caller number 10. 333-9494. We've got a 4-pack of tickets to the Babesburg Bash at Allegheny Landing Park. It's WBZZ Pittsburgh, where the music never stops more than twice an hour.
B94.
No, we don't want no HBO. Leave your cameras at the store. Don't need your hard knocks on the door. No, we don't want no HBO. You can see the black and gold when we're in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl. The NFL is being sneaky, commissioner is making dealings. Wants more ratings for the streaming, but what about our playoff dreaming? December is for hell unleashing, not for camera crews unceasing. Don't distract the drums we're beating, one more time it needs repeating. No, we don't want no HBO. Leave your cameras at the store. Don't need your hard knocks on the door. No, we don't want no HBO. You can see the black and gold when we're in the Super Bowl. Yes, you can see the black and gold when we're in the Super Bowl.
We don't want no HBO on WBZZ Pittsburgh. Time now for the official 90 forecast from Dennis Bowman and the weather outside. The rain this weekend is going to cause a steam bath. High of 93 on Friday, 94 on Saturday. The hits roll on Pittsburgh's #1 hit music station.
B94. If you got that drive, then we need someone there. Such electric
B94, I'm Kyle Chrise. Still time to cast your votes for the top 8 at 8. But right now, here's Steel and Soul on WBZZ Pittsburgh.
B94. Sound the battle cry. Battle cry, battle cry. Boots on the field, yeah. We make some noise. We make noise. We make noise. The black and gold swarms with a heart of steel. Of steel, of steel, of steel. Tomlin's at the helm. At the helm, at the helm. And it's all so real. So real, so real, so real. Cause I'm watching, watching, and I'm leading, and I'm winning. I'm with the team I'm rooting for. I'm strategizing, strategize, never quitting, quitting, black and yellow, flowing through my core. Cause it's crunch time, and the steel curtain, whoa, curtain, we blitzing, with the force we're bringing more, I'm commanding, steel spine vision, steel city, pumping in my soul. We got the power in every hour. Pittsburgh rushes in. Here we go. Defense like iron, our position's firing. But we're here to win. We're here to dominate.
Yoy!
I'm not gonna worry about your level of concern.
Yoy and double yoy!
We talking about Twitter.
Triple yoy!
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Quadruple yoy!
Let's go Steelers!
I believe in the United States of America, and I believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We mock ourselves.
It's that time again for the completely independent, completely irrelevant, completely irreverent. It's what Jin's talking about, the conversation about the Steelers' social media conversation, exposing all your hot and toxic takes. I'm unshaven, haircutted. I don't know what's that, but I'm Kyle Chrise, high in the hills of Universal City, waiting in line for his tickets to Latrobe. It's Greg Benevent.
Hello.
What is the vibe in the heartland, in the motherland?
The vibe in Pittsburgh is dangerously hot. It is heat advisory. It is stay inside. It is you turn on the news and like all of Western Pennsylvania is colored a deep red. It is a red usually associated only with like the Southwest on the Weather Channel.
Yeah, they got to break out Photoshop to find new shades on the on Joe DiNardo's map. I don't think it's. All right, coming up on today's show. Who knows? Oh, the I don't know. The AB on the pivot maybe. Did you get to hear any of that yet?
I don't. For my mental health and his, I think I don't really follow a lot of AB's media appearances. But if there's ever one that I felt could do it right, it would be the pivot.
Don't worry if you didn't listen to it. I did, and I got my favorite. I'm turning on to AB. We'll get into that. We'll get into that later. But for now, it's time for your hot and toxic takes. No, wait, what's that? Oh no, it's the Imperial Guard. They're invading.
They never should have stopped playing that music before all their shows.
Did you ever, if you ever went to Hollywood Cemetery where they had a viewing, they would play that before and everyone would get up and clap and cheer. HBO, it's like the joke has been in like, oh, it's all scripted, ha ha ha. But then stuff like this happens and it certainly doesn't. We always talk about the integrity of the game, and this certainly, I don't know if this qualifies. Let's get.
I don't think it qualifies.
Let's get to the takes. Where is the take noise? Oh man, there it is. Starting with at Danny Stein _NIL. Danny Stein. I'm just upset. The Steelers made the playoffs. We deserve not to be bothered by HBO. That's how it's always worked. Make the playoffs. You don't have to deal with the chance of hard knocks. This is what I'm like. Definitely, we made the playoffs. Right. Why, especially at the toughest time of the season? I get it. Like, I get from the network point of view, but this can't be great for the game. I don't know.
No, I don't. Has the show ever started with the take I 100% agree with? I think this is new ground on what Jin's talking about. Danny Stein, despite perhaps an affinity for NIL, is entirely correct. This is if this is the kind of thing that would have happened if they hadn't gotten to the playoffs with Kenny. Because I guess the thing is, it's hard to see Hard Knocks from the basis of a fan of a team as being any kind of benefit. It can only be a distraction. It can only be negative. At best, it's neutral and doesn't have impact the team in any way. But it seems like if it's going to have any impact, it would be bad.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean, you said it all there. Let's get to at Playmaker BK, Bill Kelly. This just proved the NFL commish and the NFL saying the Steelers' schedule, especially the back end, was calculated and didn't just happen. They knew what they were doing. I don't think the NFL is this cunning yet, although I think this may teach them that. I think that obviously HBO saw that and was like, wait a minute, this is exactly what we want. The thing with Hard Knocks is you're not getting an audience that isn't already tuned into the NFL. This isn't like a mainstream product. In fact, it's only a smaller niche of an audience. If 10 million people watch the game, only 1 million people are watching the HBO. It's, I get it from the network side of it. But, why would the commissioner agree to this? I hope that it comes out that there was a lot of a lot of push and pull back, at least from Art, I don't know.
Oh, I'd be surprised if there was a push and pull back from all of them, because especially this was a division where all but one of the teams went to the playoffs last year, and the one team that didn't was the one that had gone to the title game in the Super Bowl the year before that. So, I mean, this is a division that's been nothing but successful. I mean, I think the biggest argument against this being a conspiracy or whatever in terms of the schedule is that this schedule had never happened before. I think it would be very easy when putting together an NFL schedule, since there are so few games and so many that do have to be played, that you would just put the same games at the same time every year. You play a division team at the beginning and then a different one at the end and maybe a couple in the middle and just change the names. So the fact that this had never happened makes me think that they did get to this rather organically. But I also imagine the, HBO producer that's probably being paid entirely in drugs looked at that schedule and said, hey, let's pitch this to the NFL. And so I agree with you on the chronology of how this occurred.
But now they're going to, they're definitely going to learn from this, especially if the ratings. Yes. NFL already has 65 of the top 100 rated shows of any given year. So if they see this works, now with AI, they're just going to be like, create a schedule that creates the most division drama. And so, this is going to be a reality now. And it
is a pebble in my shoe.
It might just be a pebble, but it's like all these little pebbles that are going to add up in December, and it's it's not, the product is you're already sold the product. Now they're trying to repackage and sell it again to HBO. You've already sold it to these networks. It's you're going to have the top streaming show or the top rated show of the year.
Yes.
So this was, I don't know, they're going to love it. They're going to get addicted to it, but it's not, I don't know. The only thing that maybe I'm not thinking about is that's not it. At Patch Adams, LBJ. Hey, if they're going to distract my team during the final stretch of the season, at least do it to the entire division. Oh, okay, maybe, but I don't know. I guess that's a good point. I guess that's a good point.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, I imagine who's going to be distracted, who's going to get the most footage is probably the teams that are doing the best. I mean, when you have 4 teams to choose from, how much are you going to show the train wreck team, even if everybody's a train wreck, regardless of which team that is? So, I imagine they'll be sticking with the good teams. I mean, the only upside I thought to this, and it is a very thin read with which I'm polling, is that if they do see this works, and let's be honest, it's going to work ratings-wise for HBO. It really is.
Yeah, they only need 5 more. It's like they only need 50 people to watch, and whatever.
Yes, anyway, that's just it. But I wonder if in a future year they do this to a different division that isn't the AFC North, and that somehow in a backhanded way the Steelers don't have to deal with it. I mean, it's, you could do this with any other division when all the teams are good, which is probably the lesson they're going to take from this. And hey, maybe some of the NFC East all has to play each other from November to December, and that gets big ratings. And, the Steelers can play the NFL like they have for the prior 90 plus years or whatever.
And a lot of people think that this is going to be great. We're going to get to see a lot more Tomlin. I don't know. I think that the stuff that Tomlin, he keeps a lot of stuff private that we want to see. Maybe we'll see the big conference room speech. We'll probably see a lot of game day mic'd up stuff. But I think some of the bigger dramas are going to be Patrick Queen because he switched within the division, and of course Russell Wilson because he's the quarterback. And I don't. Yeah, we'll get some good Tomlin moments, but I think that there are going to be other stories that are going to create better storylines. Maybe we'll see, more Arthur Smith in the coach's room. That seems to be where a lot of the tape footage goes down is in those team meetings.
And that makes sense. And it's also going to be, I mean, these are hour-long shows, right? And you got 4 teams to cover. So you're figuring even the team that has the best record is going to get at most, 20, 25 minutes of footage. So, yeah, I imagine they're going to be jumping around a lot. Patrick Queen in particular, because aren't they playing the Ravens twice during the time span of this show?
Yeah, so you telling me that's not going to be a major part of the storyline, especially if we're both in playoff contention, like we always are. Like we're not going to be. The odds are, they look at the odds. Oh, Mike Tomlin's never been eliminated before Christmas or once, So it's an easy bet for them. I'm just.
And
not
it's also possible. No, you're right, and it just hit me now is that if they had done this last year, it would have been like almost a historical document because we would have had so many answers to all those questions about Mason, about Kenny, imagine what this had been a year ago. It would have been, the Ravens have the best record in the league, and it still would have been all Steelers on this show just because of what that November and December were.
Yeah. Okay. Well, enough. Which
is probably also how that person sold this. I mean, between that and Flacco, and just look at the AFC North last year and Burrow getting hurt. This was an easy sell to HBO and the NFL.
Yeah, especially because they don't have to have twice the crew. It's like, oh, they're playing each other, well, then we can just send one crew, and it's Okay, let's talk QBs because all is not well, is it? Don't you ever want to play? Thank you. At CJ Hatcher 07, Corey Hatcher. Fittipaldo, the great QB evaluator. We will all see with our own eyes soon enough whether Fields can change the arc of his career. I'm not sure what outlandish expectations people have for him. That's right, the insider Ray Fittipaldo on SiriusXM's press coverage. which has to have about as many listeners as we have. I don't know.
I mean, we are officially out of names for football podcasts when press coverage is used.
Well, yeah, at least it's not man coverage. We're ready for that show. This is the quote from Fittipaldo about Justin Fields, our super quarterback. Fields, from what I've seen, they had a month of spring practices, and he's a terrific athlete, but really the knocks against him that I heard coming in actually turned out to be true. He's not terribly accurate with the ball. His placement isn't all that great, and I could see them maybe having a package or two, depending on the opponent, but I see this team as Russell Wilson's team. Oh, no. What, he's can't play well in shorts? Are we going to withhold? We learned with Kenny, you can't even withhold judgment during the preseason. How are we going to cast judgment here in June?
Well, I mean, I don't know if we're necessarily casting judgment in terms of the rest of his career, but I think we are casting judgment in terms of him being the backup, which we knew was going to happen. So all that happened was we knew this was going to happen. I mean, Fittipaldo is also not the only person saying this. I mean, Carboli and Alan Saunders have intimated similar things. I believe it was Carboli's line that sometimes he looks like vintage Roethlisberger and sometimes he looks like vintage Mark Malone, I think was his exact quote. But I think the weird thing is, I mean, look, you could learn nothing from these OTAs and mandatory minicamps and whatever. Ball placement might be one thing you kind of could accurately judge. I mean, you can see I'm just thinking out loud here. I imagine you can't tell, how does this guy do beating coverage off the line? Well, how does he do just throwing the ball to where that guy is over there? That seems like something we maybe are doing in the art. But that's not to say that, Fields can never get it together. He obviously has all the talent in the world. But it does mean that I could take this to mean he shouldn't be the starter. Probably he's not in the pole position to be the starter going into the regular season, which we already knew.
Yep.
You're exactly right.
And, everyone wants to jump the gun and wait before we see him, at least in preseason. But, heck, we got to let's talk about him in June. But, why is he saying that on this weird, obscure Sirius show? Why isn't that part of the coverage? That's always my question. Okay. Let's move on to... if we can't wait for training camp, then we definitely can't wait for 2025 at DTom64 David Thomas. Dak Prescott will be the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise quarterback in 2025. Does that mean that both Russ and Justin are fails, or is that they excelled so well we can't afford to keep one? Or both.
It could mean both and or any of those things. It could mean that Russell has a great season and moves on. It could mean that Justin has a terrible one and also moves on. I mean, I would have thought that exact tweet was hilarious, 3 months ago? And then all of a sudden such things stop sounding so ridiculous. And now, like, all of those things that were, 2% chances have to go up to become 8% chances. I don't think that's entirely impossible. But I mean, I do. But again, and I think I said something like this a few weeks ago, maybe, is that you can't say the Steelers are just being content with mediocrity at quarterback. You just can't. They're trying everything. And on a level, I really do respect that. They've got to get it right. But it would have been very easy to, just not put in nearly as much effort as they did to get Russell and Justin.
That is a reasonable expectation.
Yeah, this isn't Mitch and Mason. This is greater.
But even that showed that they were making effort, too. I mean, they signed Mitch at first day. They drafted Kenny in the first round. They hung on to Mason. They weren't just trying, just saying, at no point have they said with the quarterback, this is fine. They haven't done that.
That's correct. All right. Enough QB talk. We'll see them. Gosh, we got, 6 weeks before we see them?
It's just going to be nonstop nonsense until then.
Okay, how about it's a little bit still of con season. The tweet is from at Steeler Nation. They put the yellow in black and yellow journalism. Omar Khan seems to be blowing smoke when it comes to Steelers running back Najee Harris. The quote was Khan, they asked Khan or something, and he said that he hopes Najee has a long career in Pittsburgh, which is something that insider Mark Caballi doesn't buy. This is termed a business decision. Well, aren't there 90 business decisions out there?
Right.
I don't see why this is any different, but what do you think? Also they say Najee hasn't been participating. Is that accurate? I don't know.
Well, he's had 2 excused absences, and Tomlin has very firmly said that they were excused and they were fine. Najee, as I understand it, hasn't been talking to the media, but said he would at Latrobe. It's easy to see both Khan and Carbali being correct here, in that Carbali says I don't believe Khan when he says this, and Khan very much saying like, hey, I hope Najee has a long career in Pittsburgh, taking much less money than he would be worth elsewhere.
Yeah, like, man, I wish I could get a word in to keep with the team to keep Najee here in Pittsburgh. I hope it works out.
Right, exactly. Yes, if you would like to work here for much less than you get elsewhere, then by all means you can be here for a long time.
So do we need to keep an eye out if there's a hold-in situation, or is that too much?
But I think it's too much, just because Najee understands that if he plays well, he's going to get even more money somewhere else. I don't think that's the hold-in. Is you're trying to get the money, as much money as you can. Well, that contract's already signed. I mean, this is the contract from when he was drafted. So he has every incentive to come in here and be great, and then go be, the running back for the Giants next year or something. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I hope they keep him, but I think they'd like to keep him at less money than he could get somewhere else.
It's not a booster with a big enough blank check.
I guess that's the problem, right? There's just not enough money to go around, especially with there's money right now. They're sitting there looking and seeing, hey, we've got 18 million in cap space right now. Why not spill that? But they keep saying that, I don't know, some magical player is going to come out of the air. I don't know.
Yes. Oh yeah. No. Right. Finally, this number 2 receiver is just going to materialize.
Yeah. Now it's like we're off on this Niners receiver, so I don't think we were ever in that to begin with. I don't know. It may be
but he went on TikTok and said they don't want me to play for them next year. Surely or they don't want me anymore or something. Obviously an offhand comment on TikTok that dictates a person's life.
Right. There's no real TikTok social media stars right now. Maybe that's on purpose. The best is Cam. Maybe, Najee is a little bit out there. Russell Wilson, obviously, but nothing that is kind of like we saw before with Juju or right. I guess that's it. I guess it's just one person. Okay.
No, but I mean, but he was very, very good at it.
Well, while we're talking con season, let's talk about the other contract in the room. Cameron Heyward, don't you want to? Yeah, thank you. At Mark Caballi, back to the insider. Cam Heyward warming to the idea of ending his career elsewhere. We know the reality. So this was, the lead story one day last week, where Caballi writes in The Athletic that Cam has talked to his wife and he's ready to. He could even sign with Cleveland if any. But then, just a day later, I don't know, couldn't have been 48 hours later. Let's go back to Steeler Nation. Steelers captain Cam Heyward talked about moving on to another team, but one insider says he couldn't believe his own words. That's right. Mark Caballi, who just wrote the article for The Athletic, then went on The Fan and said, Cam was saying the words, but he wasn't believing what he said, if that makes any sense. Well, isn't that something you might want to put in the original story instead of creating this headline where Cam goes to Cleveland and then the next day be like, nah, I think he was just busting balls there or something.
Yes. Oh, no, you're right. I mean, this never should have been a story. This is, I mean, looking at this from, 30,000-foot view, I mean, Cam has no idea how to do this negotiation thing. I think Kovacevic was the first person to make this point. Like he says, oh, I don't want to come, I'll hold out from these mandatory things. They want the contract. And he shows up with like 3 days to go. And then he says these comments about like, I could play somewhere else while also making it clear I am not going to play anywhere else. So this is, so you can learn a lot here about A, how clickbait is made, and B, how not to negotiate with your own company when it's time to get more money there.
And it's just always they go running to the fan. It's like, it makes me want to call in. Maybe we should just call in and see if we can just ask them, like, why do these people come on and give you a different story than what they prepare themselves? I always wonder. Let's see if we can dial them up here.
Okay.
We'll just probably get a producer anyway.
Sure.
Or nothing. Or make the most boring podcast. All right. Well, we'll get them. We'll get them one of these days.
They were ducking us.
Yeah, they saw the unlisted Google Voice number and said, maybe we shouldn't pick that up. All right, we got some odds and ends from OTAs. Let's go to. Come on, let's get the sound. Oh, thank you. I need a producer. Let's get to at Michael Beck 56. Michael Beck. They would be doing a huge disservice to Broderick Jones if they make him start the year on the right side again. This is from Omar Khan's quote that first-round rookie Fa'utanu will be playing right tackle. And that kind of implies that, maybe he might not be starting come the new hell-raising season in September.
Right. Oh, yeah, and it's entirely possible. And again, it's also entirely possible that's not what's best for Fa'utanu and the team, just as we saw what happened last year with how much better the offensive line and then eventually the offense got when they did move Jones into the offensive line, into the starting position, once we Chuk said the right bad word at the right time. So but it is nice to see Fa'utanu is going to play right tackle, since that's kind of what he always played. And I don't know if it's a huge disservice to Broderick Jones, as it is one more stopgap measure until they're able to get the offensive line that they want, which is Jones on one side and Fa'utanu on the other. I think they're just kind of trying to find the best way to build that bridge to that eventual time.
We're always trying to get 8 pounds in a 5-pound bag.
They've got 8 pounds, and it's just trying to get it in the bag, get it all in the bag,
or lay the bag down even.
But speaking of, if we're going to talk about Justin Fields' play in OTAs, what I've come to read is that people like not Alex Highsmith, who is the Herbig, is actually pulverizing this young rookie out there.
I believe it. Yeah, they all should. At every single one. They should run Watt and Herbig and as many people at Fa'utanu as possible. That's the best way, I would imagine, to get him ready for the regular season. I have no idea what the Falcons' pass rush is, but I'm sure it's tougher than anything he saw in the Pac-12 or whatever.
Let's go to... Back to the insider at Mark Cabali. Mark Cabali. It's quite possible that Mike Tomlin put together the best collective coaching staff of his career with the group he has right now. It was one of the things that stood out to me during OTAs. Okay. Best coaching staff. It's hard to judge the players in shorts. Now we got to judge the coaches in shorts. How can you quantify at this point whether the coaching staff is fully legit?
I don't know. I kind of wonder if part of that is just, comparison to what it had been last year, comparison to what Carboli remembers in the recent past, or maybe it's just a response to everyone's resume that they have coming in, since these guys did have pretty impressive resumes coming in, or just how much coaching that Carboli is seeing. I mean, it could just be there's a lot of coaching going on that maybe there wasn't with teams that were a bit more experienced, or even just were more experienced at being Steelers, or experienced at being in this particular offense, in this particular defense. I mean, it's It's of the last, decade or so. I definitely say it's among the better ones. But there's, if this is one of the better rosters on paper, then it's definitely one of the better coaching judged on paper too. We're not judging that until much, much later in the season, if not multiple seasons.
Yeah, right. If we can't judge, it's like we're fighting over stats, even like the stuff that happened, stuff that's on tape. How are we gonna, I think the big difference, at least, if you're an insider, I could see this take because you're seeing coaches putting more out there on social media. I'm seeing Eddie Faulkner explaining practice drills to social media.
And that is cool.
Aaron Curry is, a lot more active like that. So maybe there's a bit of transparency, leading to understanding. And now you're like, oh, these are great coaches because they're teaching me what they're doing out there. It's like, but let's. I went back and tried to find maybe the Tomlin's best coaching staffs, and of course, you got to look at 2008 Super Bowl year with B.A. Offensive coordinator, who's could be a Hall of Fame contender in his own right. Dick LeBeau, of course, in the Hall. Ken Anderson was the QB coach. The former Jet. John Mitchell, of course, D-line coach. Kirby Wilson was the running backs coach. Were those super running back years? I think Mendenhall had a Pro Bowl. Was that the year he had a Pro Bowl? I don't know.
Yeah, but also, coaches are also in many ways judged by the opportunities they had after, and Kirby Wilson had plenty of opportunities after.
True. Keith Butler on linebackers, who only set the sack records as a linebacker coach. Randy Fiechner, who you're like, oh, one of the worst coordinators, but he developed wideout after wideout when he was position coach. Yeah. That's how he earned the promotion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think 2008 might have been a little bit better. Certainly, the one big difference is, and I don't remember this off the top of my head, I don't think Arians had the same resume coming into the 2008 season that Arthur Smith does, coming in with having run a successful offense and having been a head coach, albeit maybe not a terribly successful one. But that's a stacked coaching lineup. I don't know. Maybe the argument is that Tomlin didn't put that entire collective coaching staff together, but that's also not what Carboli was thinking when he made this tweet. So I think this could be. If you want to say in the last decade, I could certainly see this one being up there. But Carboli does couch it in quite possible, and not saying it definitively. So I can't get too worked up about it, other than being like, really, we're judging the coaching staff as being this good by day 5 of mandatory minicamp. Like, everyone did a really fine job of saying it's time to get on the bus to go to Kennywood.
I just want to bring up one other year. 2014 was kind of like the all-Berg coaching staff. You had Tomlin, you had John Mitchell, legend. Todd Haley, talk about head coaching cred. Yeah. Todd Haley. Fiechner was the quarterback coach at that time. He was kind of just playing Ben ball. Richard Mann was the wideout coch from Aliquippa. Mike Munchak.
They never recovered from losing him. That was a big, big loss to the team.
Mike Munchak, Hall of Famer. LeBeau, Butler, Carnell Lake was the DB's coach. Jerry Oslowski was a linebackers coach, and Joey Porter was a linebackers coach. And that team sent 5 people to the Pro Bowl, had 4 All-Pros. That season ended with the loss to the Ravens in the playoffs at home.
The one where they signed Ben Tate 3 days before the game to be a running back. So it's there's some extenuating circumstances here, but that was a fine staff too. Obviously, we're not going to be able to judge who was the best training staff at minicamp, but these ones, I think, those are some contenders. But I think it also just goes to show they usually put together a pretty good batch of coaches. Maybe there's been some that haven't lived up to the hope, but more often than not, it's a pretty solid roster on the sidelines as well.
That is who we're going to get to meet on Hard Knocks. I think we'll get to meet some of these coaches. Arthur Smith might be a storyline because it's like, it's like a demotion and he's trying to claw his way back or something. But I think some of these other,
Aaron Curry seems like a great presence. I imagine that guy's going to be pretty good on TV. I don't know how much with 4 teams, how much you're going to get the team's linebacker coach, but he seems like a pretty good presence, pretty good personality.
Daryl Austin, I think Tomlin has been pushing for him to get those head coaches chances, so don't be surprised if, he might get a little spotlight on
certainly
whatever the show's called, Hard Knocks. Great. Okay, we teased this at the top of the show. AB is back on the pivot, a 2-time guest. Let's get to the takes. At Duquesne31, Chris Walker. Ryan Clark, fan of your podcast, but the most recent episode with Antonio Brown, I had to stop listening, to be really honest. I don't think he's ever made his pivot, and I don't think he understands that he needs to make a pivot to succeed in life. Hard to listen to. He wasn't really apologetic for any behavior that is, got him attention, like on Instagram, like on Twitter or on social media in general. His take was kind of just like, I'm just having fun out there. Which is okay. So maybe he hasn't made that kind of pivot yet. But I do think he wasn't the me first interview that I kind of expected. He was actually kind of humble about his experience with the Steelers. And, if you thought Arthur Smith could rattle off a list of Steeler names, check out, here's AB. AB talking about, because the question was like, you transformed Pittsburgh from a defensive town to the Killer Bees, and I thought he kind of had I thought he had a more pathos. He earned pathos. Whatever, I don't know what. Here, listen.
Game never changed. It's just the players. The players like myself, Ben, Le'Veon, special players. Martavis Bryant. Different players that just pouncy. You know what I mean? It's Ramon Foster. You know what I'm saying? Marcus Gilbert. You know what I mean? David DeCastro.
What?
You know what I'm saying? A lot of us get the glory from being in those great positions of receiving the ball and, being in those intangibles, but the camaraderie of the brotherhood of, going to work, the meetings, the walkthroughs, the belief, the journey. And those things will, make football worth it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the media could show the little things, but the journey with your brothers, training camp, getting bloody every day and preparing for long years and having that success and coming to a team where it's like Ryan Clark and great defenders with Polamalu, Ike Taylor, you know what I'm saying? So many, Lawrence Timmons. Yeah.
Boom, he's just got boom. It wasn't a me first kind of answer, which he's talking about all these. He even mentioned Mike Wallace. He even mentioned Casey Hampton. Didn't mention Hines Ward, but I thought that was a different. If this is the AB rehabilitation tour, for the Hall, I think that I liked what I heard there.
Well, I mean, it's going to take more than the pivot. I mean, that certainly is an improvement over, AB appearances in the past. I mean, when he speaks, I can't help but think of the criminal complaints and the not paying the arena team he owned. That really bothered me. I was very struck by, he mentions Polamalu, and the only thing I could think of was that clip about from the practice. I forget what year it was. I think it was right after AB signed the big contract, where they were so annoyed with AB during the practice that Polamalu told the sideline there will be live hitting in this next drill, and then went to hit AB himself and then tried to hit AB. I can't remember if he did or not, but I mean, I kind of get the feeling that when the AB rehabilitation tour really comes, it'll be like when you're watching a fireworks show and you're like, when is it the grand finale? And then you see the grand finale and you're like, oh, that's the grand finale. I think the AB rehabilitation tour is going to be like that. I think it's going to be a full court press, and it's going to be on bigger venues than the Pivot, which of course, nothing against the Pivot. The Pivot's great. Those guys do a tremendous job, and I think they're one of the few places that, could probably sit down with AB and get a good interview out of him. I mean, listening to AB always makes me sad, but what I could hear in there, to be charitable, to be positive, is, the one thing for all the knocks against AB, and there were many, and they were varied, and they were valid, he was the hardest worker on all those teams. That is the one thing that can never be taken away. It's always true. The first guy into the gym, the last guy out, the one that did nonstop reps, that kept himself in the best shape. That's all very true. I don't know what it's worth in the year of our Lord 2024, but I do feel some of that comes through in the clip that you just played.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, if we're going strictly on stats and numbers, you've got to.
Oh, he's in the Hall.
But,
I mean, if that's, that's not a question. It doesn't matter. He never won. It doesn't matter that the stats are so overwhelming that, yeah, he's in.
But like there's many out there like at Josh Miller. Antonio Brown will never be in the Hall of Fame. As more time passes, people will only remember him as the guy that was good for a few years and then started acting out, thinking he was bigger than the game, and just faded out of the NFL as he got into legal trouble. Is the legacy the stuff off the field, or is it on the field? It's still, I still feel, I guess it's a little bit.
I mean, it's the most dramatic, fall from grace, leaving the field of any player in the history of the game, ripping off that jersey and walking off at the Jets game. I mean, that is, in terms of a bad way to leave the league, that has yet to be topped. But what is going to help is, I mean, look, he was going to get to the Hall of Fame anyway, but what's going to help tremendously, he did win that Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. And the only way I could ever see him getting kept out of the Hall of Fame, and I don't think it would happen, is that, remember how weirdly Byzantine the Hall of Fame process is, where, like, you have to be nominated by the accredited sports writer in your town, and then you have to stand up and make the case like it's high school debate or something in front of the other 30 dudes and hopefully they let in more than just dudes at that point, in Canton. And the only way it would be is if, like, somehow the Pittsburgh writer, like, didn't stand up for him, but that's never going to happen. I mean, barring something else shocking, which, of course, with AB, you can't rule out, he will be in the Hall of Fame at one point or another.
He had, they asked him the same question. This is what AB had to say.
This is you. Do you feel that you will be embraced?
I mean, you only embraced by these organizations when you're great. And that time will come and tell in 2027. I got the most Steelers yards in Steelers history, so I feel like they can rally behind that. Me and Ben Roethlisberger, a tandem. I feel like we had the most yards together, touchdowns together, more than anyone in Steelers history. So it's like, yo, what else story you want to tell? I feel like the Hall of Fame become like a bias, jealousy. A bias jealousy not only with the players and the media. You got black players and you got white media.
So he's kind of saying, he's kind of bringing it up there. It's like you've got to be beloved by the organization has to kind of embrace you, and these media people have to kind of embrace you, and that might be a barrier.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it's the first time I've ever said this, and certainly the first time I've said this in many years. AB and I might have said more or less the same thing about the voters in that. But I mean, I very much am struck by the clip starting with, "Well, they only embrace you when you're great," says the player who left the game, who didn't show up to the game.
Yeah, he gives Ben all the credit, but then he leaves out that he kind of walked out on Ben too at the same time. So
not kind of, like, literally walked out. There's no, like, it's not, you don't have to interpret it or qualify it. He actually walked out.
So I don't know if 2027 will be it, but
well, I mean, I think that, in all seriousness, I think the thing that keeps AB from getting in the first ballot is paradoxically the same thing that might keep Hines Ward out forever, is that there are so many great receivers from this era that that first year you'll probably still be putting in guys that didn't have these kinds of issues. I mean, I have no doubt AB will get in, but if it doesn't happen the first year, it's going to be because, we still got to put in, I don't know, Torrey Holt or somebody. I mean, the guys that are, like, backlogged now that are going to go. That would be what I could see could keep AB out from the first year, but I imagine he'll be in by 23rd.
I mean, if AB got in and Hines didn't, I could see that, being a sore, something to be sore at the Hall of Honor, like.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, look, I would never defend it, but that's what the stats say. I mean, that's, it's not, I mean, if you're just looking at the cold hard numbers, that's how it should be in terms of things. Like, that's, I mean, right. I think Hines is a great receiver and all that, and one of the best in Steelers history, but I mean, there was, AB was such an incredible weapon. I mean, the best receiver in the game in his time, which Hines never was. I mean, just because it's, we're still in peak wide receiver time, but yeah.
We can't speculate and recollect.
I guess not. I guess we will. We'll have to wait for 2027. Gosh, that's going to be here before we know it. I'm so. If we're still doing this, okay. Let's. I think the band is. Don't need HBO. I mean, I'll be excited to watch the HBO show, but I just feel like it's. It's hell-raising season already, and
you're going to hear that clip. You're going to hear that on there. Mm-hmm.
It's just a tough part of the schedule. I want to be singularly focused, and it's going to be hard to be singularly focused with, especially if these contract issues, if they're going to be still talking about, does Cam deserve a contract next season, or does Najee deserve a contract next season? Because, even though Steelers don't negotiate in season, that's still not going to keep that being part of the storyline, maybe.
Or the guy being asked about it or something or other. Oh yeah, I mean it's and this is why that first guy was right. I mean, we made the playoffs.
Yeah,
don't have to do this. Same with the Ravens. Same with the Browns. By that, and it's supposed to be 2 years, so the Bengals would be exempt too, since they went to the title game the year before and lost in Arrowhead. So,
okay, few odds and ends. If the sound ever decides, I must have too many programs open today? I don't know. There we go. At Elijah Burris, Legacy, and we've got the pick with Plex, Ike Taylor, and the bus with their sons all committing to Notre Dame for the 2025 season. Not to forget that Ryan Clark's nephew just transferred also to Notre Dame. Is this going to get you to watch any Notre Dame games in the future?
Well, I mean, doesn't Notre Dame have that bizarre TV contract where they're always on NBC to the heat death of the universe?
Yeah.
Didn't they sign that like 1980? So I mean, as it's been for our entire lives, more or less, you kind of can't avoid Notre Dame football entirely. I imagine this means I'll be a little more, predisposed to think, hey, I hope whatever player made that play is the son of one of the Steelers greats. I mean, I do have to say, I mean, from clicking on the link, what is it? Burris' son is a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Ike's son is a safety.
Yeah.
And the bus's kid is also a wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's the one that's like, okay, I guess, I guess it's sort of, like the opposite of the Heywards, where Craig was the running back and his son's the defensive lineman. And but yeah, that was the one because, and again, but you can tell that's the bus's kid. You maybe can't see it in the gut, but wow, can you see it in the face?
Well, running backs don't make money in the NFL, and I'm sure that was a conversation at some point. If he's not going to be a wideout, he might better try to be a tight end because.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yes, there is a future in this. Even with your much lighter hair than your father. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's weird because I looked at that picture and Ike is the person I feel like I've seen the most. Just due to his various responsibilities and jobs that he's had with the Steelers since. And yet it took me a second to place him, whereas the bus and Plex, I knew it was them immediately. In Plexico, it's easy because he's so much taller than everyone else. But
yeah, I mean, I still don't watch any really college football. I try to watch Penn State and then, but whatever. Okay, one last thing. Yeah. Really? One last thing. Nope. Well, one last thing. At Cleveland, thank you. At Cleveland Magazine. It's been more than 20 years since the Rolling Stones last played in Cleveland, when the English band finally hosted a massive show at the Cleveland Browns Stadium Saturday night. And who is spotted in the crowd? It's someone in a Roethlisberger jersey, crashing, bringing the I don't know if it was necessarily Father's Day, but certainly bringing the Browns daddy into the stadium. I wish I knew who this hero was. If you had the Roethlisberger jersey on at the Stones concert in Cleveland, hit me up at Kyle Chrise, and we'll get you some kind of prize or something.
Absolutely, because and if you know this person, show them our podcast because they would absolutely love this podcast.
That you're exactly right.
You are literally the target audience.
That is a reasonable expectation.
Okay, Coach. Well, I think that is what we've been talking about today.
That's what we've been talking about.
That one works. Okay. We will keep the conversation going on social media. I'm at Kyle Chrise. Greg, how about yourself?
Unfortunately, you can find me on Instagram at Greg Benevent. B as in boy, E-N-E, V as in Victor, E-N-T.
we're giving away prizes if you leave an iTunes review and subscribe on YouTube or leave a comment on YouTube or something. And we've already claimed the Tomlin biography has been claimed by
Right. Congrats.
Patch Adams. Well, I'll be sending that out. We've got other prizes though, like the Kirkland children's books. I've got the book on the 73 season. And so forth. So leave a review on iTunes and YouTube or something. I want two affirmations. Is that what it is? I don't know. All right.
I think so. Yeah, affirmation. Good.
Okay. Until next week, keep listening to your coach.
Be their best selves. That's going to be required.
Stay in school.